Grace, and I'm one of the board members for the Lower Swatara Township Historic Preservation Society. Historic preservation isn't just about old buildings or fixing up a cemetery. It's also about the people in the community, their lives, and the actions, things that they do. 2 years ago, we had Dick Phelan, who built and started the Raven Social Club that's up on the hill, and Bob Angelucci from the Magnificent Men. So after that presentation, the members filled out the evaluation sheets that are on the table, and we asked you to fill one out tonight. And they wanted more music, more bands. So tonight, we bring you more. And we may not have captured all the bands you wanted tonight, but we're going to highlight a few of the best of our local here in Lower Swatara. Your handout, Other Popular Bands, includes even more bands with information to spark memories and nostalgia. It'll be posted on our website and Facebook page within the week, in case somebody else might be interested in it. Here in Lower Swatara Township and the Middletown Harrisburg area in the 1960s and 70s, it was a great era of music, musicians, bands, and venues. The stories are similar though. Most of the band members that I spoke to started out as buddies who went to school together or played on a sports team. Very few had professional training. They just picked up an instrument, they listened and heard songs on the radio, and they practiced over and over until they were good enough. They found the right band after trying out many, and as one band broke up, another rose to take its place. Besides playing in high schools, pools and swim clubs, birthday parties, firehouses, VFWs, American Legions, picnics, fairs, and college campuses, they played at venues like the MCSO here in Middletown, the Starlight Ballroom in Hershey, the Likens Ballroom, White Oaks Park in York, the Railroad House in Marietta, and the Country House. Some of the musicians went on to become even better, even great musicians, and could make a good living at it. Some stayed attached to the music industry in some form and are still working today. And some of the great musicians who made up these bands never got the due recognition that they deserved. One band member told me that when he did one of his first shows, he was given $10. And he said, well, what is this for? He loved what he did so much, he just didn't even think about getting paid for it. I know as I speak for many of the band members, some of whom are here tonight, they all felt blessed and fortunate to have been part of the era and of the bands themselves, both as a musician and as a fan. Many told me it was the best time of their life. Tonight, we so wanted Jim Hurst to be with us from the Exciting Invictas. And you know, Invictus means unconquerable, and that really describes Jim Hurst. Jim and his wife Ann have been my friends for many years, and part of what sparked me to do this presentation. But Jim has been in and out of the hospital recently, and he was in rehab, and now today or yesterday went back to the ICU unit. He really wanted to be here, but we'll try to convey information about the band, so if any of you want to jump in, please feel free to do so. Is Andy here? Andy Hurst? Did I see him? He was going to try to make it, his son. Well, tonight we have Sarah Brennan Peters with us. She's the daughter of Dennis Brennan of the DuValles, the Intentions, and the niece of Ron Brennan of the Exciting Invictas, DuValles, and Intentions. She resides in West Hanover with her husband, 2 kids, and their dogs and cats. Sarah has been a registered nurse for 18 years and was blessed with the opportunity to be her dad's caregiver for the last few years of his life. Her brother Alan Brennan is here, as well as her Aunt Ladusky Brennan, and both will hopefully chip in with a story or two. And they're sitting right here, folks, so if you have any questions on the Brennan family, they brought the whole crew. Paul Eshleman is our most involved presenter tonight. He began his singing career in 1950 as a child singing in talent contests in the Midwest. He came to Pennsylvania in 1959, where he met the guys who would eventually become the DuValles. His first paid gig was at the Middletown High School in 1963. He later was in the Village Gate, the Humble Gatherings, Uncle Remus, and is currently still singing today with a band called Allegro and Friends. So Paul has been involved in music for over 60 years. There's also some past band members in our audience tonight, and I hope you feel comfortable enough to speak up and share your experiences. And there's also relatives, fans, friends, girlfriends, and wives of some of these band members, and hopefully you'll share your memories as well. And believe me, we will bring you the microphone. Preparation for this presentation has been an amazing experience for me personally, as I've talked to some of the nicest people that I have come to know through getting ready for the presentation. And you should know that some of those here present tonight drove an hour or so to be here. Henry Urich, who was in the DuValles and the Intentions and who lives in California, was checking flights because he wanted to be here so much tonight. I'm glad you all are here, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation. So Paul, if you want to come up.
Thank you. I guess first, okay, anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about the Invictas. I was not in the group, I knew the guys, and it's funny that she mentioned the MCSO, because the first group I was in about 62, where me and Denny Brennan and Brian Humble and Jack Bellotti formed a little doo-wop a cappella group called D-Ray and the DuValles. And we would go down to the MCSO to go into that great big marble bathroom because the acoustics were so great. And we would have sing-offs. The Invictas would come over, the Imperials were there, and yeah, I'm a little nervous about it. I don't usually talk in front of people. I'm usually singing. But anyway, those were some good times. We had
Did you start?
a lot of fun.
Thank you.
So anyway, from the Invictas, we go to, okay, I started this, I'll continue it. In 62, we started D-Ray and the DuValles. And in the summer of 63, we added Mike Runyon on guitar, Ricky Corey on keyboards, and Rick Smith on the drums. And we played in Middletown High School. It was the brand new school at the time, and we were the first band to ever play there. It was in November, I think, of 63. And Henry Urich came on and introduced us as the DuValles, which surprised everybody because we didn't know about that. So anyhow, we moved on to spring of 63, or spring of 64. I was graduating from high school. I left the band because my intention was to go into the Navy, which didn't work out. And so the DuValles went on to become the Intentions. You want to come up?
Sarah, before you start, I just want to give this overhead a shout out. This is Red and Pat's. This was Red's snack bar, and the Exciting Invictas practiced there a lot and played there. I can't be both places at once. I'm going to run back here. This is one of their songs, Exciting
everybody know that lead singer Jim Newt, his daughter's in the audience here tonight.
You want to raise your hand?
Okay.
Welcome, thank you for coming.
So the Exciting Invictas played throughout PA and New Jersey at places like Hershey Park and Ballroom, Swatara Park, White Oaks Park in York, VFWs, American Legion posts, and colleges like Penn State and Shippensburg. They played back-to-back with the Endells, later called the Magnificent Men, and Thundering Century. John Stamen said he couldn't remember a weekend where they were not booked solid. Going into the DuValles. In 1962, a group of young boys who played softball together decided to form a vocal quartet. The DuValles originals included Jack Bellotti, Denny Brennan, Brian Humble, and Paul Eshleman. In 1963, they added additional musicians. Let's see. Sorry, it's under my clip here. Mike Runyon, Rick Smith, and Ricky Corey. In 1964, Ricky Corey and Paul Eshleman left, and Henry Urick joined the DuValles. About this time is when they morphed into the Intentions. Their popularity grew from playing hops, parties, weddings, and other venues that they started appearing in Detroit, Washington, D.C., New York, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. The newspaper clipping here said that all their equipment, including their truck, was free of debt, paid for by their engagements. The picture is Brian Humble, Jack Bellotti, Ronald Brennan, Denny Brennan, Henry Urick, Greg Coates, and Jenny Winkleman, Bob Sieberling, Phil Savello, and Rick Smith. All the keyboard players had to have Hammond V3s.
Is Rick Smith in the group tonight? He was going to try to make it. No? Okay.
I actually found this in my dad's stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. This is a 1966 contract from Hershey Park Ballroom for 4 vocalists and 4 musicians, the DuValles, to play at the cost of $150 for 3.5 hours. It's signed by Henry Urick, and that comes out to about $5.35 an hour for each band member. The next slide, I found this in his stuff as well. This is an example of a handmade flyer to announce the gig. And I really like this one because not only are my dad, Denny Brennan, and Ron Brennan involved in this, but my mom's brother, Dave Shader, was part of the Fabulous Furies, so I always thought that was kind of special. This is a CD that my dad actually put out called Cap City Soul. It does include music from The Intentions. It has Don't Forget That I Love You, It's Got to Be You, Honest I Do, and then the Del Shantays. And this is actually what I remember about my dad, just to kind of go off of something that I wrote for a little bit. I don't remember really much about, obviously I wasn't alive when my dad was in these bands. But I wanted to speak today because my dad was an amazing man. Unfortunately, when he passed away, I didn't get to say all the amazing things that deserve to be said about him. Well, I don't know the history of my dad's time in the Intentions, and depended a lot on everybody else for that information. I do know that he was always a music lover. While he was a performer in his teenage years, he was a well-known record dealer as an adult. I lived with my dad as a kid. And some of my earliest memories are traveling to record shows with him and meeting so many of his musical friends. if you were at DuValles, Columbia, or Baltimore, and you remember me as the little girl under the table playing with her Barbie dolls. Those shows were so boring to me as a kid. But as an adult, looking back, they are some of my fondest memories of my dad. Everyone loved him, and he had so many friends across the globe. His friends treated me as family as well, giving me my first CD, when CDs first became a thing, DJing my 16th birthday party. I think that was actually, that was Brian Humble, wasn't it? No?
It might have been.
I think it was Brian Humble that DJ'd my 16th birthday party. I don't know about that. And then also DJ'd my wedding, some of his friends. So, let's see here. Everyone loved him. Let's see. I'm sorry, I got lost there. As a record dealer, my dad sold records locally at shows, but also through auctions. As a kid, I helped him prepare his auctions. Originally, back, before technology, I helped him type them up on a little word processor that we owned and mailed them out via snail mail. And later, as technology progressed, I helped him email and post his listings to eBay. That was my first official job, was helping him prepare his auctions and also pack up the records for mailing, which was all a huge, interesting experience. My life was music because his life was music. Again, the things I thought were a nuisance as a kid became some of my favorite memories. I also remember him playing overly loud soul and doo-wop at all hours of the day and night, and an extremely large, really, really large record collection everywhere. As I get older, I learned that he kept his unusual schedule of sleeping well into the afternoon and staying up way too late due to the fact that some of his best customers lived overseas in Japan and England. And this is kind of where I'm going with this, is he was so proud of that record, Don't Forget That I Love You. And I found out, when I was truly old enough to appreciate it, that the guys in England were going crazy for Don't Forget That I Love You, the Intentions hit song. They dubbed this tune Northern Soul and played it at their weekend discos. After my dad's death, Mark Hansen announced his passing to the British record collecting community and referred to the song as one of the best blue-eyed soul records ever. I can't speak for the rest of the Intentions, but I know my dad was incredibly proud of the band and that song. So, like I said, he was extremely proud. And after he passed in 2 years ago, 2022, that record is actually what I chose for my memorial tattoo for my dad. So it is the record itself. All right, where are we at here? So, the DuValles and the Intentions, okay. So the Intentions were Greg Coates, Henry Urich, Brian Humble, Ron Brennan, and Denny Brennan. They were a group of young boys who played softball together, decided to form a vocal quartet. Their popularity grew from playing hops, parties, weddings, and other venues, and then they started appearing in Detroit, Washington, New York, Baltimore, and Philly. Band pictures from April 1967, and some of the band members, and then a couple of the guys, Denny Winkleman, Denny Brennan, and Greg Coates.
Don't Forget That I Love You was number 27 on WSBA's Hits of the Week. My Uncle Ron's, then not his wife, heard this song, liked it, and never knew that several years later she would be married to Ron Brennan, who was on this record. Henry Yerrick says that this was recorded at Virtue and was released in 1967 on the Phillips label, which was distributed by Mercury at the time. While it only received limited regional distribution, it still managed to reach #1 on Central PA radio charts in Harrisburg, York, and Carlisle, as well as 101 on the National Billboard Music Chart. The song was written by Jesse James in Philadelphia, who wrote Boogaloo Down Broadway and The Horse. Parthon Productions, Virtue Studios, and Jesse James were all part of what was to become the sound of Philadelphia. Don't Forget That I Love You has been played over 100,000 times on YouTube. Probably a lot of those are mine. It later became popular with Northern Soul record collectors in England and has sold for as much as $150 for a single copy. This slide here, Greg Coates in the back left was the bass guitarist, Brian Humble was lead vocalist, my dad, Denny Brennan, was tenor, and Ron Brennan is also in this picture. This picture, they shared, and this is a flyer that I've seen like my whole life. My dad was really proud of this one. It was kind of stood up all over the house. They shared headlines with other top acts like the Impressions, the OJs, the Vibrations, the Capitals, the Magnificent Men, the CODs, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, Eddie Holman, Ruby and the Romantics, the Intruders, and the Marvelettes. As shown on this flyer, they had booking agents locally in Harrisburg and Middletown, but also in New York City, New York.